Hello listeners, welcome to Views on Health. A great pleasure as always to have with me on the program Dr. Nilangika Sandakumari, consultant physician and senior lecturer in pharmacology, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Last time around we had Dr. Nilangika Sandakumari speak on osteoporosis. Tonight we're going to discuss a vital organ in our system, the kidneys. Without any further ado, I hand the microphone over to Dr. Nilangika Sandakumari to tell us about this vital organ. In fact, we have two of them in our system, but I'm not going beyond that because it's not my area of specialty. I'm a layperson. Here's a medical professional to tell you all about it.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving the opportunity again to discuss some vital topics with you all. So today we are talking about the kidneys. So all of us have kidneys, and two of them, as you said, located on either side of the spine, just below the rib cage. And if you put your hands on your waist, your thumbs will lie just over your kidneys. And these two are bean-shaped organs. You can't live without them. Why? They do a lot in our body. Some people think they only filter and send waste material out from our body. That is only one task. But other than that, kidneys do a lot. What are they? Kidneys help to maintain our blood pressure. If the kidneys are damaged, the blood pressure will go up. And kidneys are important in the production of blood cells. When the kidneys get damaged, the hormone that is needed for blood cell production will not be produced, and you will become anemic, or you will not have enough hemoglobin. And then the kidneys will also they are also important in the synthesis of vitamin D. Now, last time we discussed about osteoporosis, which was a result of vitamin D deficiency. So kidneys play a big part in the synthesis of vitamin D, which is needed vitamin in our body. And the most important thing is getting rid of waste material from our body. So kidneys do a lot of things. Salt and water excretion from the body is a main function of the kidney. So kidneys have small filters inside them. Each kidney will have small filters called nephrons. The small particle, the unit, the filtering unit is called a nephron. So blood will come inside the nephron and it will get filtered. The waste material will go out of the kidneys, and then the filtered, cleared blood will go back into your circulation. So that is the kidney function in general. So why did I say that you can't live without the kidneys? One thing is that the toxic material will get accumulated, and you may have seen patients with poorly functioning kidneys, with swollen feet, swollen face. So fluid will get accumulated and the blood pressure will go sky high and blood production is affected. So almost every system is affected. So kidneys are very important. That's why I thought of discussing about kidneys today.
Thank you, doctor, because when you say kidneys, we always associate kidneys with the flow of urine, and we know that it does feel toxic substances from the system. I mean, and then sort of purifies the blood.
Yeah.
And in Sri Lanka, I mean, kidney problem, it is a huge problem. People with, having transplants done, dialysis, so much is happening across the country.
Yeah.
And it's a huge issue for the country, actually, for the health sector, to deal with this. And you see more and more people, including children,
Yes.
Who are affected. So this is a dangerous situation. And it's reality that we have to face in Sri Lanka. So, from a medical perspective, how do you, what would you advise our listeners? First, to take care of their kidneys.
Yeah. So kidneys, they try to help us in many ways. And when the kidney gets damaged, still, even the damage is more than 50%, kidney tries its best to do its work properly. So you don't know that you are having a kidney disease until most of it is affected. So what causes this damage? The top two leading causes of kidney damage worldwide is diabetes and high blood pressure. Uncontrolled diabetes and uncontrolled high blood pressure are the two leading causes of kidney damage. So if you want to take care of your kidneys, the best thing that you can do is control your high blood pressure and sugar levels. So it was shown by the studies, almost 1 in 3 of diabetic patients are having kidney disease, and 1 in 5 patients who are having high blood pressure are affected by these kidney diseases. So the best thing that you can do to take care of your kidneys is to control these two conditions, diabetes and high blood pressure. So other than these two leading causes, there are a lot of other causes of resulting in kidney damage. One thing is recurrent infections of the kidney. So if an infection sets in, it can damage. And then kidney stones and ureteric stones may sometimes damage your kidney. And in our country, we have an entity called CKDU, kidney disease of unknown origin, which is more prevalent in north central and certain northern provinces in Sri Lanka, but seen in other provinces as well. We don't know the etiology yet. We don't know what causes this exactly yet, but it is assumed that heavy metals and certain pesticides and certain toxic materials are responsible for this, but it is not proven yet. Studies are still underway. So CKDU is another cause for kidney damage. And there are some other systemic diseases called glomerulonephritis. So there are some other causes and certain inherited conditions like polycystic kidney disease also damage the kidneys, but they are rare compared to the two leading causes. So if you want to protect your kidneys, what you must do is taking care of your other non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressures. So you don't know, as the kidney disease gets advanced, only you will feel some symptoms. Still you don't know whether this is caused by kidney damage, because most of the time they are very non-specific. You will lose your appetite and you will feel very lethargic, lack of energy, sometimes vomiting, a nauseated feeling, you don't sleep well at night. So a lot of very non-specific symptoms can occur with kidney disease. So these symptoms are collectively due to toxic levels, high toxic levels in the body. But they occur at a very later stage when the kidneys are damaged to a significant extent. At the initial stages, you will not feel any of these. So until a significant percentage of the kidney is damaged, you don't notice that. So that is the disadvantage. That is the point that we need to stress here. So screen and find out whether you have the kidney damage is started, so that you can take the preventive measures.
Doctor, now we have heard of childhood diabetes.
Yes.
But not high blood pressure in children. Okay, now these are the two sort of predisposing conditions that will bring on the kidney problem. Now, because we children have kidney disease, so what triggers it off in children? Is it the fact that they are diabetic?
Yeah, in children who are diabetic, again, are at a high risk of developing kidney diseases. But high blood pressure, uh, if it is the essential hypertension or the high blood pressure which occurs without an underlying cause, then it occurs usually in the elderly. But high blood pressure can occur due to a secondary cause, due to another cause. That can occur even in children. So usually this high blood pressure is in children is caused by an underlying kidney disease. I told at the beginning that certain disease conditions are there like glomerulonephritis, that is the inflammation of the kidney. So such conditions in children can give rise to high blood pressure, not the other way. High blood pressure causing kidney disease is common in the elderly, but when you take relatively young population, primary kidney disease can give rise to high blood pressure. So that is same.
Thank you, doctor, for clarifying that point. Now, when you come down to the nitty-gritty of taking care of your kidneys, what does one do? I mean, is it lifestyle? Is it intake of plenty of water? Again, the smoking and the drinking part comes in. And when you say drinking, I'm not trying to justify intake of alcohol, but some people say they are just social drinkers. Then some people say, I just take a glass of wine occasionally. Some people say, I take a glass of wine every day, just one glass of wine. I've heard people say these things. So does that constitute to being, taking a lot of alcohol from a professional medical point of view? I mean, your knowledge and your sort of experience in dealing with these patients. So smoking, of course, one cannot say I smoke one cigarette a day and then I smoke one the next day. So it's negligible. I mean, they smoke. They can't stop it one a day. So they do. Of course, there are very few disciplined people I know. They say just 2 cigarettes a day and that's it. And again, I don't know how good or bad that is for one's health. So there are reasons that bring all these conditions in, and affect your kidneys.
So if you take smoking, the toxins in the smoke will damage the blood vessels, the lining of the blood vessels. So it is not only the blood vessels in the heart, not only the blood vessels in the kidneys or your brain. So everywhere the blood vessels, the lining of the blood vessels are affected. So that damage to blood vessels is a reason for kidney disease. So smoking will damage your blood vessels everywhere, resulting in high risk of heart diseases, high risk of kidney diseases, and put you at a high risk of developing strokes and also lung cancers. So the toxin in that will predispose you to kidney diseases as well. And you asked about lifestyle interventions in kidney disease. So here I need to tell a little bit more on that. So when you take lifestyle interventions, now you asked about consumption of water. So before getting a kidney disease, you can drink a lot. You need to drink a lot of water actually. A healthy person is advised to take 2 to 3 liters of water, pure mineral water per day. But once you develop this chronic kidney disease, you can't take the amount that you want. Your water intake is limited, usually to 1 liter per day. 1 liter per day because the kidneys are unable to send the water out from your body. They can't filter. So because of that, the water gets accumulated. So then you will have to stop or limit the intake of water. And then you can't eat in the way that you want. Once you get the kidney disease, you have to limit certain things. Sometimes kidneys, when they are affected, your potassium level in the body will go up drastically. So you are advised to take items that contain potassium in a limited amount. So what are the food items which are high in potassium? Certain fruits like avocado, king coconut, banana, they all will have high potassium. And then food items with high phosphate, especially sausages, then processed meat, milk. So you can't take such items in your food. You have to limit those. And you will also have to limit salt intake, because salt will also result in high rising blood pressures and retention of more and more water. So you will be asked to limit salt intake as well. So there are lifestyle interventions that we need to do when we develop kidney diseases. Other than this, these things, other than dietary and water restriction, you will also be asked to take certain pills, certain nutrients by pills, like iron, vitamin D, and then calcium. Those supplements will be given because your nutrition may not be sufficient. So a lot of dietary and drug modifications are needed in kidney disease. So what we can do is, if you know that you are at high risk of getting kidney diseases, better to take care of it not developing in you, rather than thinking of the medications and lifestyle interventions after getting the disease. So better to avoid getting a kidney disease by controlling your other medical illnesses. So when you develop kidney disease, other than medications, you have two main modes of treatment. So that is, as you said at the beginning, dialysis and kidney transplantation. So we talk about these things at the end stage kidney disease. That is when the kidney disease is very advanced. So how do you know at what stage you are? That is by doing blood tests, and by scanning your kidneys, we can come into a conclusion. Now we do a blood test called blood urea and creatinine levels, and we have a estimation of kidney filtration process called glomerular filtration rate, where you will assess the rate at which the kidneys filter the stuff. So if the kidneys are affected to a severe degree, then your doctor will advise you, now it's the time that you may need to go for kidney transplantation or dialysis.
Going on from there, Doctor, you have sort of clearly laid the picture for the benefit of our listeners as to how they can take care of their kidneys and what they do or don't do in terms of bringing on the condition, where it can even go to the extent of end stage. I was told that there are like 4 stages. Could you just tell us about that before we...
Yeah, so the staging of kidney disease is done by glomerular filtration rate, the one that I told you just now. Glomerular filtration rate gives us an estimate about the kidney's filtration process. So in a normal kidney, this rate has to be more than 90. If you have a kidney disease, but still the rate is maintained more than 90, then we call it stage 1 kidney disease. But when it gradually declines with the kidney damage, when it lies between 60 to 90, then it is the second stage. When it is 45 to 60, it's third stage. And 30 to 45, it's fourth stage. And you have a fifth stage also, which is the end stage. So when the kidney disease advances and when you reach the end stage, we advise the patients to go for hemodialysis, or there's another dialysis method called peritoneal dialysis. And also the other option is to go ahead with kidney transplantation. So hemodialysis is a process where you will be connected to an artificial kidney. It's like an artificial kidney, a machine. You are connected to that, and that machine will filter and take out the waste material out of the body and remove excess fluid, and then return the purified blood into your body. So before undergoing this procedure, doctor will ask you to get a fistula made in your in your arm, and then through that fistula the dialysis will be done. So the dialysis frequency will depend on your symptoms. If you develop shortness of breath and accumulation of water in your body within a short period of time, you may need dialysis very frequently. But if you can stay for months without the development of these symptoms, then you can wait for months. But as the kidney disease advances and you reach the final stage, you will have to get a dialysis session once in 3 or 4 days. And the other option is getting a transplant done. So for a transplant, you need a donor. Donor can be either a living donor or it can be a deceased donor. Deceased means organs donated by a dead person who's dead. But every person can't donate a kidney. For organ donation, that death has to be a sudden one. Usually brain dead person following a road traffic accident, sudden death, organs well perfused will be suitable candidates for organ donation. So you can take the kidney from a deceased donor or a living donor. But before going ahead with the transplantation, we have to match the donor kidney with the recipient kidney. So matching is done after checking your blood groups and other variables, and then if the donor is suitable with the recipient, the matching will be done. And even after doing the transplant, the recipient will have to be extremely careful, because there's another organ in your body which doesn't belong to you. So your body will try to reject this organ, the new one. It's not belong to your body. So to prevent that rejection, we give drugs to suppress your immune system. Immune system is the one responsible for rejection. So drugs which will suppress the immune system will weaken your immune system. So kidney transplant recipients are at high risk of getting infections. So avoid going into crowded places, and especially these days with COVID-19, it's important to avoid contact with COVID positive patients, because when your immune system is suppressed, you are more prone to develop severe form of the disease. And some people do ask this question: if you donate a kidney to another person, then are you healthy? Will it affect your other kidney as well? I would give the answer. Now, the world's first kidney donor lived 160 years. So if your kidneys are healthy, you can live with that single kidney, because that single kidney will compensate for the one that is given, that is donated. But as long as you're healthy, that single kidney can carry out all the functions that both kidneys did. That's why we don't accept kidneys from people with diabetes, people with high blood pressure, or any other conditions which may damage the kidney. We don't accept the kidney because it can give unwanted, unacceptable outcomes to both the donor and the recipient. The kidney that he donated is already affected by the diabetes he had, already affected by the hypertension. So the recipient is getting a damaged kidney. So it is not accepted. So healthy kidney, yes, you can live with a single kidney. It will get adapted, and it will do all the work that the two kidneys did.
Well, Dr. Taimi is catching up with us. It's been interesting discussing the kidneys that we are sort of blessed to have in our systems, and then we either take care of them or we do things that can set the process of damage going, and then there's no reversal. Once the damage sets in, there's no reversal. Am I right? You can't say that the kidney will get back to normal.
It won't get back to normal, but you can slow the progression of the kidney damage by controlling the risk factors. As we discussed at the beginning, if you control the diabetes and high blood sugar levels, if you control the blood pressure levels, it will slow the progression. It will hold the progression. You can't get back into the normal state, but it will prevent the progression. Yeah.
So what's your take-home message?
Take-home message is, again, as repeatedly I reiterated throughout the discussion, control your diabetes and control your hypertension. These are the two leading causes of kidney damage worldwide. So if you want to protect your kidneys, screen for kidney disease at an early stage and control sugar levels and pressure levels to your best, then you can prevent kidneys from getting damaged.
Thank you, Doctor. On that note of advice, we end this discussion on the kidneys and thank Dr. Nilangika Sandakumari, consultant physician, senior lecturer in pharmacology, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, for being with us on the program in the midst of your busy schedule. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you
for sharing your valuable professional insight into this valuable topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you also to Nishanta Manik-Dibala for technical assistance. I'm Fatima Razi Kader. Saying good night and looking forward to seeing you next Monday, same time on Views on Health.